Hello everyone, Ian Iliona here, musician, LGBTQIA icon, environmentalist, human rights activist, veteran with PTSD from military sexual trauma, proud owner of Mars Now, the space agency, and Green Future Go Corporation, which is supposed to be helping the environment to protect mutants, werewolves, and vampires. Hold on, it's fucking ridiculous. All right, so I just don't feel attractive right now. I don't feel safe or attractive right now. I still want to talk about what's been going on. Got food in my beard. So I went outside and had yet another PTSD trigger, which could have been avoided if I had just done the smart thing of just stay in the lobby. But I don't understand it. It's like I was going to my room and then all of a sudden someone tried to block me from going to my own fucking room. Like what the fuck is that? Like I'm so sick and tired of this. I'm so sick and tired of no, could you stay outside? Could you stay outside? And I'm like, could you make small talk with people? It's like, no, I don't want to make small talk with people. I think the whole point of this whole arrangement where I live right now is you go to your room, I go to my room, and unless you are Angelina Jolie, beautiful, we don't talk to each other. Because right now, I just want to be by myself. I want to enjoy time by myself. I don't want to be around people. I really don't want to be around people. I'm trying to minimize my going outside or whatever. Fuck it. I'm just going to do this because I don't want to look at myself right now. So I guess it's just an audio only podcast for now because I don't feel attractive or anything. I was so fine yesterday. Like honestly, I had my wonderful garments. I had everything, and then all of a sudden it was no, no, we have to do another PTSD trigger. It's like, no, could you stop it, LA? Could you just stop triggering my PTSD and let me be happy being a weird artistic person who just doesn't talk to people. Let me have that. Let me have that. That's all. But no, no, no. I don't seem to be able to get that. I don't get to have this is why I had that conversation yesterday about the dessert because I said dessert is for when you feel happy, but more than just happy, when you feel safe. And I just don't feel safe at all. I don't feel safe when, I have people blocking me from going back to my room from the fucking lobby. Like, what the fuck is that? Hello, baby B3. Nice to meet you. I'm sorry for yelling in your ear right now. I'm just I'm having a terrible day. Just a terrible, terrible, terrible day. I'm a veteran with PTSD, and this is why I'm bedridden because I say to myself, if I even try to go outside, I'm going to have another one of these situations, artificially created situations, where I'm just going to have women lunging at me in close proximity to me. And because I have PTSD, it's mostly on myself. Mostly on myself. I don't have the ability really to say, could you stop walking or could you stop, you know, moving past me because you have someplace else to go? Because that sounds ridiculous. It really does. And I shouldn't have even been in that situation. It should have been let me go to my room and you do whatever you want to do. But let me go to my room. It took like a whole 10 minutes just to get back to my room. And all I can say is, I don't know what LA is thinking. I'm not a celebrity. I'm really not. I'm someone who makes music that like no one should listen to. Like my newest single, White Men Can't Jump, like no one should listen to that. I mean, it is such utter trash. I mean, you have to be just like trash in order to listen to something like that. It's just so dirty. Like it's such a dirty song. And like you should definitely not listen to White Men Can't Jump. It's a very, very dirty song. If you're a proper person, you really shouldn't be listening to such filth that spews from me on the mic. You shouldn't listen to it whatsoever. It's just so dirty. My newest single, "White Men Can't Jump," which is available exclusively on YouTube Music first, and should be on Apple Music and Spotify tomorrow. But right now, it's available on YouTube Music. "White Men Can't Jump." The deaf music video that goes along with it is available on X. So any of the music I create, there's usually a deaf music video that parallels it because I like to be as accessible to I my fans, I guess, as much as possible. So if you are deaf and can't actually hear my music, then I still make you something beautiful that you can enjoy and understand the story without hearing the story. Zoma, are you gay? Yes, 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 yes. It's hard to say that emphatically enough because I almost feel like if you don't have sex with men within a year, you're not really gay because gay men have sex. That's the whole point of being gay is that you're a homosexual. You see, there's sex even in the noun, but I can't seem to make that a verb because I'm so emotionally damaged and everything. So yeah, there's that. There's definitely that. Oh, by the way, you did say hi, so hello to you. Welcome, welcome. Hello there, Taylor. Hello, hello. Welcome to my channel. I'm. I don't really feel good right now, so I don't really want to be on camera. But I still wanted to talk about Lighter's Law because I don't think my message is really reaching the United Nations. How critical it is for them to pass judgment on the United Nations lack of follow through on a human rights violation, which is military sexual trauma. Now, I know that that should be under the purview of it's the United States. Well, the United States has done jack shit about it. Or what they've done essentially is say, okay, we sexually abused you. Here's some money, which isn't the same exact thing as, well, we'll stop sexually abusing, raping people in the armed forces. Now, there's a whole grand design to this where they select you to be sexually assaulted or sexually abused or raped, and then they set it up to happen. And that's just some really dark, dirty stuff. And, I just don't really feel like going into too much detail, but that's how my country pretty much decided to sexually abuse me. They had a committee and said, yes, we will put you in a situation where you're sexually abused. And because of that, my health suffers. My health suffers. My social life was pretty dull to begin with, but now I can't resuscitate that bullshit. It's like, how can I even have friends if my friends know that I can't go outside? I mean, even Lindsay Lohan in her darkest time of times still, found a way to connect with people. I'm so lost. I'm so lost right now. So I thought I would talk about something that, as a scientist, I've been wrestling with. First of all, it has to do with the amount of pollution that we have here in the state of California. The same state that has a clean air day has the worst pollution, the worst. So they're doing a pretty much final solution thing. They don't really seem to mind too much. So if you really live in, downtown LA or one of the more industrial areas or right next to anything that might combust into a forest fire, yeah, it might affect you, but people don't really seem to mind. They just go about their days as if nothing changed. Nothing changed after the forest fires. I started a podcast after those forest fires because I said, I'm not going to let it go, LA. I'm not going to let it go that you burned down five forests and then set a fire in San Diego as well, just to go, ha 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 ha. We make movies here and that puts us above the rabbits, squirrels, bears, wolves, deer that were living in those forests. The arrogance of this state. Oh, by the way, some humans lost their lives too. So let's not lose sight of the human tragedy of it. But for some people, it's just property damage. It's not, you damaged an ecosystem. And I know how that feels. I know how that feels. I mean, I'm a huge fan of all the things that they create here, all the things that they do here in LA. I just want to put it to them that there is a better way. There's definitely a better way to go about everything. And if it isn't the pollution, it's what I've been thinking about, which is the radio signals that have been going on for our internet, our mobile network, things that we consider to be important, but are they really? I mean, one of the major reasons why I want to move to Antarctica, I want better cell phone reception. I laugh because the cell phone reception in Antarctica has to be very, very good. Why? Because there are less competing signals. So if you're making a person to person call locally, yeah, I mean, you might as well just be using a walkie talkie or a can with a string attached to another can. I mean, it's really good reception. And they should have the same exact idea here, even in the most crowded area. They should be thinking that way. But instead, all the tech giants are going in what I consider the wrong direction. They keep raising the bandwidth that they are using. So the frequency goes higher and higher and higher. And we keep saying, oh, but the speeds are amazing. It's like, no, the speeds are just a little bit better because number one, it's a little bit more energetic, but mostly there's nothing up there. You don't have anything broadcasting at that frequency. I don't know. I mean, I, I feel that in my soul that if most of what we're doing is audio and visual, sometimes at 20 frames or less, 23 frames is, I think, the industry standard for television and most videos, then do we really need such high frequencies just to transmit that data, which you only have to recompress and buffer? I'm not saying go back to dial-up, but there has to be a middle ground where you don't microwave half the state with all your cell phone towers and cell phones and Wi-Fi. This is why I want to go to Antarctica, because I have to solve this, because this is affecting our health. I mean, there are some people who, they get cancer off of it, and then there are some people who just mutate off of it. And as a mutant, I find it very offensive to have further mutations against my will. So I will have to keep pressing this issue with the United Nations. Let me go to Antarctica, give me my UN charter so that I can set up a scientific base there. Because my research should continue outside of the United States, where I don't have to be blocked from going to my fucking room and have my PTSD triggered. I could just, I don't know, have a staff where I can say, look, here are my boundaries, respect my boundaries, and leave it at that. Like, what the fuck? Like, I'm wasting so much time here in Los Angeles. I mean, my newest single, White Men Can't Jump, I mean, that's out on YouTube Music exclusively first. It'll be on Apple Music and Spotify. Tidal, Pandora, and all the rest. Deezer. It'll be on all those at a later date. But today, White Men Can't Jump, my latest single, is available on YouTube Music. I mean, it's a nice song and everything, but I mean, it's not exactly. I mean, the phrase would normally be rocket science, but I disagree with rocket science. I disagree with fusion and fission. I saw I don't know, like a future imagining of what things would be like by the year 3000 if we went to Mars. And every time they were going to make an advancement, and then they would always say, and then we added fusion, and then we added fusion, and then we added fusion. And it's just, the more advanced you get, the more you realize that fusion is wasteful, dangerous, and not as powerful as you think. It was a lovely video because they said if you went to Mars, you could do things like invent telepathy, which is lovely. But don't we have that already? Wouldn't it make more sense to maybe develop the telepathy that we have already? I mean, if you really have to go to another planet to invent something that we've had for millennia, then I guess you're just not a deep enough scientist. But that's what I was thinking. I enjoyed the video because it was so hopeful and optimistic. And yeah, I mean, there were some stumbling blocks, but it was moving towards something. It was moving toward that type 1 civilization. We can't even get a type 0 because people refuse to change, refuse to see the world as it really is. People talk about this government shutdown, government shutdown. Who are these people? Do you even know their names? Do they know yours? The government shutdown. I don't want to fucking hear it. I'm very, very blessed that X just said, you know what, you keep following all of these porn stars. We're just going to fill your feed with porn stars. And that's what I get out of it. I mean, I used to get alerts from all my little environmental agencies, but I just unfollowed them because I said, if you have to keep saying it over and over and over again, you're not doing it the right way. You're really not doing it the right way. You have to declare your victory locally and then go from there. Declare a victory. I love Ontario's clean air initiative because it's inspiring, but they were going up against nuclear power, and it was just depressing to me. It was depressing because if people cannot see that nuclear power is just wrong, that fusion and fission are just wrong, they don't understand what life is all about. They don't understand what you're supposed to gain from it. One of my favorite books, which I hope eventually, if I can hold my nose and coordinate with the entertainment industry and tell them that they have to make an adaptation of this, or I'll just write it myself. Because this book was all about that path of where do you see your life, or where do you see what you want. Because there are people who they just want to find true love and just be in a routine where you get good mornings and hello baby, and that's good enough for them. And then there are people like myself that say, I will not be satisfied on this planet, in this country, in this state, until I go to Mars. Until I go to Mars. Because that's the only thing I want. And even then, Mars isn't big enough for me. I mean, technically, it's not big enough for anybody. That's why the gravity is lower there. But at the very least, if we went to Mars, we can prove something that we already know. If you don't like something, leave. Leave. Mandala, hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the channel today. It's a weird one today. I had yet another PTSD trigger, and I'm just so sick and tired of it. I'm tired of it because it's false complacency because it was, look, here's a room filled with a bunch of guys, and there is the danger to you, and only to you, of a female coming your way. Which do you choose? Do you choose to stay with the guys or to go outside where you know that that woman would talk to you? And I admit, I was just stupid there. But who the fuck feels that comfortable around a bunch of guys who you don't know, who are all wearing the same uniform at this point. This is coming from someone who's a veteran, so I don't know. I think back on my military experience, and I don't understand. Just when I sang the Air Force song, I sang it with such passion and such adoration, and I just wanted to be part of something that could uplift this entire nation. And they sexually abused me, and I mean that hurts. I mean, the sexual abuse is bad enough, but you really had a committee decide, oh, that Ian Ileana needs to be sexually abused and sent to the hospital. Like, really? Why? Why did America do this to me? This poor woman just wants to go to her fucking car, and me, with all of my issues, I keep I was actually in the wrong there because I didn't move my ass fast enough. Because I said, you know what, it's impossible that this woman was going to follow me the same exact route. Wrong, wrong, wrong. And she's trying to talk to me, and I don't even respond, which is just so rude. But I have PTSD, and all I can think is, please do not sexually abuse me. Please do not sexually abuse me. Please do not rape me in broad daylight now that the sun is coming out. that is what I think. And I'm not healing. I'm not gonna get over this, but I'm certainly not healing. Like this sucks. America has really robbed me of a wonderful experience of knowing and talking to the greatest minds of our generation, which I'm sorry are just female. I say this as a non binary person. Women are just smarter and more focused when it comes to STEM education. I say this because I read a lot more. I'm a serious gamer, but I really do read more. I write, things that most men should do more of. I've been using this cell phone technology for a while, and just now, at this juncture in my life, I'm beginning to say, wow, it hurts my fingers to use a cell phone because it's not as ergonomic as holding a pen and writing a letter. It's not as efficient, but really, I am smashing my fingers against glass like an idiot. I never really thought of it that way until today, but every year, every couple months, we switch out our cell phones, and we just do it all over again. Smash our fingers against glass to talk to people, to look something up, to pull up a video or a song, but you're smashing your fingers against glass, hurting your nerves because you won't walk over to a radio and turn it on. You might not get the song that you want, but at least you wouldn't be smashing your fingers against glass. Women are the devil, in my opinion. To some men, they are. To some men. But you have to think about women like Madame Curie. Madame Curie was a genius. Jane Goodall, genius. Margaret Thatcher, genius. I mean, there's so much to be gained, but I have PTSD, and Los Angeles just hasn't helped. When I lived in Texas, the there was, I don't know. I didn't interact with that many females, but there was just a vibe. I put out a vibe of you stay over there, and they put out a vibe of I just really don't care. And between the two of them, there was just this radius that, for the most part, we just put up with, and I like that. But when I come to California, California is all about you must talk to people, you must make small talk, alien hive mind. Yeah, whatever. I'm not interested. I'm really not interested. It's faster, it's more efficient, I guess, but it's faster and efficient, but it's not going in the right direction. Because, like I said, every time Apple or Samsung or whatever, manufacturer makes a new cellular device, it's the same exact interface. And I just told you that Mars, at least in this video that I saw, would be able to create telepathy. That should resonate with you. That should resonate with all of you, because you should think that there has to be a better way to do all of this. And not to completely switch gears, but there's been a lot of talk about the new Xbox ROG Ally X and the Legion Go 2, like two very good entries in the handheld market. But yet still, even as a handheld fan, I've always been a fan. Ever since I had the Sega Game Gear, like I've always loved the ergonomics of it's portable, it can play the games that you kind of want to play. Maybe not all of them, but it can play the majority of them. But there has to come a time where you just say, yeah, but if I could have an 8K 200-inch screen perceived, wouldn't I just go for the 8K, 200-inch screen instead of that? And that's what I just decided. I would rather do that. I would rather. I don't think I'm gonna buy the new gaming handhelds. An Xbox is very, very clever. And I really have to do a separate video, so I'm reminding myself to do a separate video on that. I also got all sort of wrist machines to help my wrist too. I got a stand for my bed and have a smart ring to scroll now. Yeah, that's the way you have to do it. I watched a movie about Marie Curie. Great movie. She was the pioneer of nuclear tech. I believe in a collective conscience and collective subconscious. Yeah, we used to call it the Akashic records or the Akashic field, where certain memes or certain ideas are just being used in parallel. It's true. If you look at what's been going on lately on social media, everyone is in a sense picking up on something. I don't know what they're picking up, but they're picking up something because it's just repeated over and over and over again. It's almost like every human on here is trying to solve a puzzle, but they're also a part of the puzzle at the same exact time. Hmm. But what I was trying to say with Xbox has raised its subscription price. It has raised the price of its consoles. It's come out with a VR headset and a gaming handheld. I'll say it, Microsoft wants your soul. Microsoft wants your soul. And in some cases, I have to tell people, yeah, they're asking for money, but they want to eat your soul. I can't speak for them. I don't work for them. But they're trying in a way to help nerds out a bit and say, shouldn't you be playing video games? Shouldn't you be enjoying your life? Because as much as, oh, they raised the subscription price on Game Pass, it's, yeah. Because weren't you buying like physical editions and running out of space for that? Or you were buying DLC for games that you played once and said, I don't really like that. And then you still have DLC. I talk about how I have tried Dead by Daylight, and because someone hacked my game and made the NPC character who was on my team go berserk, I just said, fuck it, I'm not gonna play your game until you fucking figure that out. Like I had to write the company and say, hey, your game was hacked and glitched in a horrific way. Like, I'm not going to play your game. Like, when you play a game that's like supposed to be human on human, I mean, that's fine. But when it says this is a computer, it's like, okay, well, let me use the computer because the computer has predictable paths and it's supposed to behave in a certain way. And if the computer itself isn't behaving in the appropriate way, I'm going to call you on it and say either your game is self aware now or your game was hacked. I have to hide from people myself. I get online, then get chased. I know that feeling. But because I said that I didn't want to play the game until they explained to me how the game was hacked. I asked for a refund on the game, which Steam understood because I said, look at what the fuck happened on my Twitch stream when I tried to play this game. This game is fucking bugged. Like, I don't want to play that game." And they said, "Sure, here's your money back." But then I bought DLC, and the DLC, I bought every DLC because I said, all the people I know are playing this game, and I'm gonna love this game. This game is amazing because one of my favorite people played it, and it really did look like he was throwing glow sticks. But now looking back at it, I don't think it was glow sticks. I think it was knives. But either way, the game looked fun, and I have $300 of DLC for a game that freaked me out, and so I no longer have it, which sucks. Which sucks because I still maintain if I wasn't in a situation where I had my PTSD trigger almost every fucking day, I could play a game like that and say, "Huh, your game is being hacked right now. That's wacky." Bump. But no, I was just too freaked out. So it'll just sit there. It'll just sit there until I feel comfortable enough to play it again. My cat chewed the wire on my controller. I was on the very last boss of Silk Song too. Oh, okay. I'm going to tell you something. Animals are extremely intelligent. I've proven that. I've really proven that. I actually have my own little. I don't even know what to call us. Just a unit. I have a unit of myself and two dogs, and we go about in our paramilitary outfits, and we walk. But those dogs want all your attention. Your cat wants all your attention. If they know that that machine is taking up all your time and you don't pay attention to them, they will attack it because they want you to focus. And they're so easy to focus on because they're lovely. Mandala, you're absolutely right. Dogs and cats are supposed to be a part of your life, like all of your life. People call them Velcro dogs when they start following you around, but I think that's just what a dog is supposed to be. I think we don't understand what dogs are. Dogs are a part of us. They're a part of our evolution because without dogs, we would have been wiped off the face of the planet. People talk about how, well, religion saves lives. It's like, no, dogs save lives. Dogs save civilization. I walk my cats every day. That is some cool stuff, man. That is cool. I owned a cat and I never thought, what if I just put a leash on him or a harness and we went for a walk? Hmm. I don't know. I fancy having more animals, not less. Can't do that in civilized company, but that's what I think about. I think about, with my PTSD and lack of ability to connect to people, I should just connect with animals more because animals respond to that. Animals really respond to people who are damaged. They're more therapeutic, they're more understanding, they complete tasks for me. I'm just getting used to a life where I don't interact with people, which is why it's such a struggle to just be out in public because you just feel like you don't you don't want to connect to something that always shocks you. I mean, talk about aversion therapy. LA is what I can only consider the most legitimized concentration camp that the world has ever seen because they use aversion therapy and conditioning as much as possible. But I'm here to tell you that if something offends you, you're supposed to talk about it. Like, don't minimize your own feelings. And I know it's not exactly my place to say, but somebody mentioned the whole Me Too movement in my news feed, which I glanced at for like 2 seconds, because it's not just myself who's been affected by this attitude that the world has of you're my property. I can do with you as I see fit. Men and women have been abused for some time, especially in the workplace. Now, I don't believe in staying silent about anything, especially about that. So people should do as I do. If something offends you, you get on the mic, you get on a microphone and you speak about it. You make it real, you document it, you share your feelings because your feelings are very valid. If something offends you, if you had a boss who every time you went into a hallway, he just wiped his genitals on your arms, just, hey there, and then just like bam, genitals, genitalia. Sure, you can go to HR, you can complain about that, and you should, but you should also just speak about it loudly on the internet if you have to, but you really should speak about it. Don't eat that because there's no reason to eat that. I mean, like what? You're going to get a promotion. You're going to get a promotion at a company that allows something like that. Like, how hard are you for money if you really need to devalue your in that way? Which is why I say it's not just about me. This whole experience that I have, and I understand that for a lot of women, the idea of being traumatized is terrible, absolutely terrible. But I still can't talk to you or be near you after what I've been through. So I 100% support your struggle. Your struggles are very valid. I just cannot be a part of any situation where they have to talk to me or be around me for any reason other than commerce, where it's kind of unavoidable. But then again, there are cameras, and you put your damn social security number, you know, on your application, so it's not hard to track down if something goes wrong, as opposed to just open air fucking areas where you just have to assume, well, maybe you put a credit card somewhere, or maybe just maybe. I don't like taking chances like that, so I just say Antarctica. Not just because of my PTSD, but also for scientific progress, because I'm tired of living in a society that says bashing my fucking fingers against glass is a technological advancement. Go fuck yourselves. Yeah, absolutely. They call them man's best friend for a reason too, emotionally, especially. It took some time and I had to make baby steps, but it is possible repetition and reward. You're absolutely right about the damage, but animals are better to interact with than most people. Most people wouldn't put up with the amount of yelling, screaming, crying, irritability that I display to my dogs, which is why they're service animals, because no dog has to put up with that much and still do a job. Still do a job, even if it's contrary to even what I want, because my safety, my health is more important to them than sometimes listening to me, because sometimes I'm wrong, absolutely wrong, and I have to defer to an animal. Do you know the situation that I've been put in where I have to say my animals are smarter than me, and because of that, I have to trust animals over people for the rest of my life. And even then, can't really trust the animals because the animals do get side-trailed by a lot. Oh yes, you remind me of so many conflicts of interest when working in a hostile environment. This is why Mars and space exploration and human advancement is more important than ever, because what are we doing with our lives? What are we doing? I just mentioned that whole scenario of the naughty boss who is super horned up and wants to get laid, and he's trying to inappropriately, hit on his fellow coworkers. Is sexual desire something to be shamed? Expressing it in that way is shameful, but is sexual desire shameful? Because maybe if it wasn't so shameful to have sexual desire or to express yourself sexually in a healthy way, you wouldn't have sexual dysfunction at all. Something to think about, when we talk about these hostile environments of, a boss abusing their power to have sex with the subordinate. There are also people who say, yeah, but that's how I met the husband and father of my kids, or that's how I met my wife and the mother of my children. We worked in the same place and we got to know each other. We shared the same exact schedule, and we ate lunch together. We lived a life together. There's something in that statement there, the together part, that we we don't talk about in America. We don't talk about, hey, we need to be together. People talk about relationships all the time. They don't say, yeah, but are you together? Yeah, you can have a boyfriend, you can have a girlfriend, but are you together? Do you share things? Do you share life together? Hi, Turtle. Hi, hi. Mandala. I didn't know that. That's not irrelevant. That's not irrelevant at all. the culture of the Greeks and the Romans, they very warlike. And if you read the mythology has always been power, 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 and how power is used by gods. There's so many stories about Poseidon, there's so many stories about Hades, there's so many stories about Zeus. Not a single story. Now that I'm thinking about it, you're absolutely right. There's not a single story about Ares. People butcher other people in the name of Ares, but Ares himself was just, there is honor and there is serenity in the conflict and the bloodshed and the heat of battle. And that's enough. He never wanted anything else. He's one of the most pure minded gods. And how is it that our armed services aren't the same exact way? If you join the military because you're fighting against terrorism or you're fighting against ignorance in your country, why would your country sexually abuse you? Because if that's a life lesson, they could also just, talk to you about it. They don't actually have to sexually abuse you. But that's that. Good morning, Turtle. The pursuit of happiness is definitely a weird concept. I want to talk about that. The pursuit of happiness has always been one of those phrases that they throw around, but we don't really talk about what that means in the modern age. Because happiness to one person is not happiness for another person. There's a lot of give and take. There's a lot of rebalancing that has to happen. And we have to be more honest. We have to say that we want to be happy. Part of change is accepting that there's something wrong. Saying that you don't feel happy, that you don't feel loved, you don't feel trusted. Because if LA really felt comfortable having a super genius this next to them, they wouldn't constantly try and trigger my PTSD. So yes, why is it taking so long for the United Nations to just decide my case so therefore I can ask for a UN charter because at that point I would be without a country. I have a first print book of Abraxas leather bound. Very interesting to read. I'm gonna have to read that too. Hmm. We really have to examine what makes us happy. Because I moved to LA because I thought the beach would make me happy. Like a Kendall, I said my job would be beach. Go to the beach, sit on the beach, watch the sunrise, watch the sunset. Beach. But every time I tried to go to a drum circle, I just I span out. I'm not even saying that correctly. I spun outward because that's who I am. I'm the person who says What's in the next solar system? What's in the next galaxy? What's in the next universe? Aren't you curious? Isn't human to be curious? Because where's the curiosity? We watch a lot of television. How many of us actually write for television? We're raised on murder mysteries, and how many of us actually say, for the amount of mysteries that we watch, why don't we just go be a police officer? Go be a constable. Go be a guard somewhere. You know so much, don't you? You've watched it all. You didn't even have to wait for the credits to roll. You already solved it. But instead, we just allow people to play out fantasies of a life we wish we had. I don't want that. I want to be a scientist full time and publish. But publishing means I have to have reproducible results. And if I'm the only test subject of my own experiments, then I'm not really that good of a scientist. But I do feel confident that some of my data would be further expanded upon if I replicated it in a larger status in Antarctica, as opposed to just being someone who floats around California, not talking to people, reading poetry like an elf. I love that. I appreciate how you talk about these things. If only the world wasn't so stubborn. The beach always reminds me of breathing exercises. Beaches are healing too. You are supposed to breathe. People tell you that you breathe oxygen and carbon dioxide comes out, but they don't explain to you that you're probably supposed to get a little bit more oxygen and that every day selfish people force carbon monoxide into your lungs. You don't know them. You never know their names. You see them zip by in their cars, but you don't know the people who are poisoning your lungs. And they don't know you. And they don't care. Because you're taught, you're taught in states and countries that the whole world is out to get you and you have to think of yourself first. And a lot of us do. But then you also have to think, if you started talking to, not me personally because I have PTSD, but generally, if someone were to talk to another person, you would realize that you do have things in common and things that you need to agree upon. Poor people live their lives and rich people live their lives. And you think that the two never have any common ground, but they're both getting fucked over by number one, taxes, two, environmental concerns. We say that things like our sewer systems don't matter. Public health doesn't matter. Oh, what does it mean that young kids don't drink orange juice often enough? Or that, oh, there's a milk shortage in California, or at least in my bedroom. I just can't seem to find or Caucasian or Brazilian, 6 foot tall or higher, 180 pound or more, but less than 270. Man who wants to climb into my bed. It's difficult because I don't actually try. So I mean, you'd really have to, pick up on some telepathic vibes if you're gonna fucking date me at this point, because I'm off the dating websites. I'm not trying at all. Because all I can think about is Mars. Mars now, my space agency, and how it's more important to put a base on Mars, a farm on Mars, a city on Mars, than to get laid. People can get laid. I'm trying to uplift the entire species and say we could do more. We could definitely do more if we were honest with ourselves and say we're not humans. I guess we're not humans. Humans were what we were before the Industrial Revolution, when we had metal tools like a hammer and a saw. Then we were human. When we invented the printing press, when we started building factories and cars and planes and the internet, we stopped being human. We stopped being human quite a while ago, but we're still living our lives like, oh, it doesn't matter that we eat energy now instead of food. And we don't talk about it. We don't talk about what blue light is. Blue light is a food source. It's a food source. We eat that energy. Don't ask me how you process it. I have no clue, but you are eating it. Yes, so many don't breathe properly. I feel you on that. It's hard to breathe properly because you're stressed. You're stressed all the time. You don't rest enough, and you're not loved. And you should love yourself. You should definitely love yourself. Tell yourself that you're beautiful. Tell yourself that you're clever, that you can handle anything. And maybe find someone somewhere, somewhen who inspires you to feel that way all the time. My name is Ian Leona. I am a musician, an LGBTQIA icon. That's a lot of I's. Must be a high IQ. I'm an environmentalist, a human rights activist, podcaster, owner of Mars Now and Green Future Go Corporation, because, as I said, we're not humans anymore. We have to stop telling ourselves that, because it's kind of limiting and it's not honest when we don't behave like humans, we don't eat like humans. So we're not humans. And then look where life goes from there. I hope to see you on the next podcast.